The massive chamber on Nexus Prime had never seen such anger. 12 different alien races sat around the circular table, their voices mixing together in a storm of complaints and accusations. At the center of it all was one topic that made them all agree for once. Humans had to go. Chairman Vorth raised his crystal arm, and the room slowly became quiet. His body was made of living stone that changed colors when he felt different emotions. Right now he was glowing angry red. "We have heard enough evidence," Vorth said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The human race has proven they cannot follow our rules. They fight too much. They ask too many questions. They refuse to accept their place in our galaxy." Ambassador. Klek from the Zelani race stood up. His blue skin was covered in scales that caught the light. "In just 50 years, humans have started 3 border conflicts, challenged our trade agreements, and demanded equal voting rights. They act like they own the galaxy." "They are savages," hissed War Chief Grak of the Draknari. His reptilian features twisted with disgust. "On their own planet, they spent thousands of years fighting each other. Now they bring that violence to our peaceful galaxy." Dr. Yenth, whose tentacles moved nervously, added his voice. "Our scientists have studied human behavior. They are unpredictable. They do not think like civilized species. They take risks that no sane being would consider." The Aquarian representative, her gills opening and closing rapidly, spoke through her water-filled helmet. "Yesterday, a human ship ignored our quarantine around the Nebula 7 research station. When we asked why, they said they wanted to explore. Explore, as if their curiosity was more important than our safety protocols." More voices joined in. The silicon-based collective complained about humans trying to mine their sacred crystal fields. The gas giant dwellers were angry because human ships flew through their atmosphere without permission. Every race had a story about human rudeness, human violence, or human stubbornness. Chairman Vorth listened to each complaint. The crystal being had lived for over 1,000 years. He had seen species come and go. He had watched the galaxy grow peaceful under council rule. But humans were different. They did not fit into the careful order that had kept peace for so long. "The vote will be simple," Vorth announced. "Should the human race be expelled from galactic society and isolated in their home systems?" One by one, each representative cast their vote. The Zelani voted yes. The Draknari voted yes. The Aquarians, despite their usual peaceful nature, voted yes. Every single race agreed. Humans had to be cut off from the rest of the galaxy. The decision was unanimous. For the first time in Council history, an entire species would be completely isolated light years away. Admiral Kate Morrison was having a normal day on her ship, the Earth defense vessel Endeavour. She was reviewing supply reports when her communications officer, Lieutenant Ben Clark, suddenly stood up straight. "Admiral, we have an urgent message from the Zelani embassy," Ben said, his voice tight with worry. The main screen flickered to life. Ambassador Klek appeared, but he looked different than usual. His scales were darker, and his eyes held no warmth. "Admiral Morrison," Klek began, "I am here to deliver the final decision of the Galactic Council. Effective immediately, all human vessels must return to their designated home systems. All trade agreements with human colonies are terminated. All diplomatic relations are ended." Kate felt her stomach drop. "Ambassador, what is the meaning of this? What has happened?" "The Council has voted to isolate humanity completely," Klek continued, as if reading from a prepared statement. "Your species has proven incompatible with galactic civilization. You are too aggressive, too unpredictable, and too dangerous to remain part of our society." "This is ridiculous," Kate said, trying to keep her voice calm. "We have been loyal members of the galactic community for 50 years. We have followed your laws, paid our taxes, and contributed to Council defense forces." Klek's expression did not change. "The decision is final. Quantum barriers are being activated around all human-controlled systems as we speak. Any human vessel found outside these barriers will be destroyed without warning. You have 48 hours to recall all your ships and citizens." The transmission ended, leaving Kate staring at a blank screen. Around her, the bridge crew sat in shocked silence. Chief Science Officer Alex Rivera was the first to speak. Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures around our space. They are building some kind of barrier. Kate turned to her tactical officer. Commander Davis, contact Earth Command immediately. Priority Alpha. The response came quickly. President Lisa Campbell appeared on screen, and Kate could see she had been crying. Kate, I know why you are calling. We received the same message 30 minutes ago. Madam President, surely this is some kind of mistake. We can appeal their decision. Campbell shook her head. I already tried. Chairman Vorth himself delivered our final notice. The Council considers the matter closed. They expect us to accept this isolation and eventually come begging to be readmitted under their terms. Dr. Rivera, who had served as Earth's ambassador before the current crisis, joined the conversation. They think isolation will humble us. In Council records, isolated species usually last less than 10 years before surrendering completely. Kate looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. These were good people who had dedicated their lives to protecting humanity and serving the greater galactic good. Now they were being told they were not wanted. How long can we survive on our own? Kate asked. Our current supplies and trade? Stockpiles will last maybe 8 months, Campbell replied. After that, we will have to depend entirely on what we can produce in our own systems. And our military situation? We have 47 ships spread across 6 star systems. Against the entire Galactic Council fleet of over 10,000 vessels, we would not last long in a direct fight. Kate felt anger building inside her chest. For 50 years, humans had tried to fit into galactic society. They had followed alien laws, accepted alien customs, and tried to be good galactic citizens, and this was their reward. Madam President. What are your orders? Campbell was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was hard as steel. Kate, I want you to know something. We are not giving up. If they want to isolate us, then they are about to learn what humans do. When they are backed into a corner, ma'am? Throughout human history, our greatest advances have come when we faced impossible odds. When ice covered our planet, we learned to make fire. When diseases killed millions, we invented medicine. When we were trapped on one world, we built ships to reach the stars. Kate began to understand. You think isolation might make us stronger? I think the Council just made the biggest mistake in galactic history, Campbell said. They assume that cutting us off will weaken us. But they forget that humans learn fastest when we have to survive. The President turned to address the entire bridge crew. People, as of today, we stand alone in the galaxy. The aliens who we thought were our friends have decided we are too dangerous for their perfect society. Maybe they are right. Maybe we are dangerous. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Dangerous to the idea that things must stay the same. Dangerous to the belief that some species are better than others. Dangerous to anyone who thinks humans will quietly accept being treated as second-class citizens. What do we do now? Asked Lieutenant Clark. President Campbell smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. Now we show them what happens when you leave humans alone with time to think. Kate, bring your ship home. We have work to do. The transmission ended. Kate looked around her bridge at faces that showed the same mixture of anger and determination she felt. They had been rejected by galactic society, treated like criminals, and told they were not good enough to be part of the larger universe. All stations, this is Admiral Morrison, she announced over the ship-wide communication system. As of today, humanity stands alone in the galaxy. The Galactic Council has decided we are too dangerous for their perfect society. She paused, choosing her words carefully. They are right. We are dangerous. We are dangerous to anyone who thinks humans will quietly disappear when things get difficult. We did not survive ice ages, world wars, and the colonization of hostile planets by giving up when someone told us we were not wanted. Around the ship, crew members straightened their shoulders and set their jaws with determination. Set course for Earth, Kate ordered. Maximum speed, we have a lot of work to do. As the Endeavour turned toward home, Kate stared out at the stars and made a silent promise. The Galactic Council thought they were removing a problem by isolating humanity. Instead, they had just given humans the motivation and freedom to become something the galaxy had never seen before. They would regret this decision. Kate would make sure of it. 5 years had passed since the galaxy turned its back on humanity. In the grand halls of Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council members congratulated themselves on solving the human problem. Their long-range sensors showed exactly what they expected. To see, human space had gone quiet. No ships moved between their systems. No messages were sent beyond their borders. No desperate calls for help or pleas to be readmitted to galactic society. Chairman Vorth's crystal body glowed with satisfaction. The isolation has worked perfectly. The humans have learned their place. Soon they will come crawling back, willing to accept any terms we offer. Ambassador Kleck nodded agreement. Our intelligence reports show their economy has collapsed. Their military has been reduced to a handful of patrol ships. They are barely surviving on what they can grow in their own systems. What the Council could not see was the truth. Far beyond their sensors, in a star system they had marked as uninhabitable, something incredible was happening. Commander Jake Sullivan sat in the pilot seat of his ship, but it was unlike any vessel the galaxy had ever seen. The Ghost Rider looked like it was made of liquid metal that shifted and moved in the light. Its hull was so smooth it seemed to bend space around it. Ghost Rider to Prometheus Base, Jake whispered into his communication device. Even his whisper was changed by new technology that made it impossible for alien sensors to detect. "We hear you, Ghost Rider," came the reply from Colonel Amy Foster. She was the commander of humanity's secret base built inside a moon orbiting an unstable star. The Council had declared this system too dangerous for any life, which made it perfect for human operations. "The Drachnary Patrol just passed through Sector 7, Jake reported. Their ships could not detect any of our mining operations on the planets below. The new stealth systems work perfectly." 3 light-years away, on a space station hidden in an asteroid field, Dr. Carlos Martinez was working on something that would have amazed the greatest alien scientists. In his laboratory, he held a piece of armor that seemed alive. It moved and flowed like water, but felt harder than the strongest metals. "The adaptive nano-armor is ready for testing," he told General Patricia Williams over a secure communication channel. She was now head of Earth's new military research division. "How effective is it?" she asked. "It can stop plasma blasts that would melt regular armor. But the best part is that it repairs itself using energy from whatever attacks it. The more someone shoots at it, the stronger it becomes." Williams smiled. "How did we advance so quickly?" Martinez laughed, but there was no humor in it. "When you know that failure means extinction, you work a lot harder. When you cannot rely on anyone else's technology, you build better technology." The Council races spent centuries perfecting systems that worked well enough. We had 5 years to build systems that had to work perfectly. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Captain Ryan Torres watched as robots built ships that looked nothing like the slow, bulky vessels Earth had used before the isolation. These new ships were sleek and predatory, like sharks built for space. Their engines could push them to speeds that would make Council ships look like they were standing still. "Sir, the new Reaper-class destroyers are being completed ahead of schedule," reported Chief Engineer Helen Brooks. "The fusion antimatter hybrid drives are working better than we hoped." Torres nodded as he watched the construction. Hundreds of automated machines swarmed over each ship, welding, installing, and testing systems with perfect precision. "And our production rate? We are building ships 3 times faster than any Council race has ever managed," Brooks said with pride. "It turns out that when you are not limited by committees and bureaucratic approvals, you can get a lot done very quickly." Back on Earth, President Campbell stood in a command center that had not existed 5 years earlier. Holographic displays showed star maps with dozens of blue dots marking human presence throughout the galaxy. The Council thought humans were trapped in their home systems, but the truth was very different. Operation Silent Expansion is proceeding perfectly, reported Intelligence Director Sarah Kim. We now have hidden bases in 47 star systems. The Council has no idea we exist outside their quantum barriers. Campbell studied the displays. And our new allies? Better than we hoped, Kim replied. Every species that the Council has ignored or mistreated has been willing to work with. U.S. The Outer Rim colonies, the independent miners, the refugee populations, they all want change. What about our technology sharing program? Dr. Rivera, who was now Earth's Minister of Science, joined the conversation. We have given defensive technology to 12 different species. In return, they provide us with resources and information about Council activities. They get protection from raiders and pirates. We get eyes and ears throughout the galaxy. President Campbell walked to a window that looked out over the reconstructed Earth cities. 5 years ago, those cities had been focused on trade with alien worlds. Now they were centers of innovation and production that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Council made a critical error, Campbell said. They assumed that isolation would force us to stagnate. Instead, it freed us from their limitations. On the edge of Council space, Commander Lisa Park led a team of soldiers, wearing armor that made them nearly invisible. They moved through a Nexari supply depot like ghosts, placing devices that would allow humans to monitor everything that passed through the facility. Command, this is Strike Team Delta, Lisa whispered into her communicator. We have installed MONITORNG equipment throughout the depot. The Nexari will never know we were here. Excellent work, Commander, came the reply from Colonel Dan Murphy, head of Human Special Operations. Proceed to your next target. Lisa and her team disappeared back into the shadows. For 3 years, Human Special Forces had been moving through Council space, gathering intelligence and preparing for the day when isolation would end. They had learned every detail of Council military operations, mapped every supply route, and identified every weakness in their systems. The most amazing advancement was in human communication technology. Dr. Martinez had developed quantum entanglement systems that allowed instant communication across any distance. While Council races still relied on message ships that took weeks to travel between systems, humans could coordinate operations across the entire galaxy in real time. Sir, incoming message from the Outer Rim, reported Communications Officer. Tony Lewis, the hologram of Captain Emma Stone, appeared. She commanded a human fleet that officially did not exist, operating from bases that officially were not there. Prometheus Base, we have completed the liberation of the Cathari mining colony. Emma reported. The raiders who were enslaving the population have been eliminated. The Cathari have agreed to join our mutual defense pact. Colonel Foster nodded approval. Any casualties? None on our side. The new battle armor performed perfectly. Enemy. Plasma weapons could not penetrate our defenses. This was the pattern that had been repeated dozens of times across the galaxy. While the Council maintained order in their core systems through bureaucracy and diplomacy, humans had become the protectors of everyone else. Species that had been ignored or exploited by the Council found themselves defended by mysterious ships that appeared from nowhere, solved their problems, and disappeared again. The economic changes were even more dramatic. Dr. Rivera had revolutionized manufacturing using nanotechnology and artificial intelligence. Human factories could now produce more goods in a day than most alien worlds produced in a year. The quality was so high that alien black market traders paid enormous prices for human products. Our trading networks now reach into Council space, reported Trade Minister Robert Chun. Alien worlds are buying our technology through intermediaries. They do not know it comes from humans, but they know it is better than anything the Council produces. President Campbell reviewed the reports with satisfaction, and our military capabilities. General Williams provided the briefing. We now have more ships than any 3 Council races combined. Our technology is at least 50 years ahead of theirs. Most importantly, our people are motivated in ways that soft, comfortable Council citizens cannot understand. Motivated how? Every human, knows that we are fighting for our right to exist. Every soldier, every scientist, every worker understands that failure means our species becomes slaves or disappears entirely. That kind of motivation creates capabilities that cannot be measured in simple numbers. In his private office, Dr. Martinez worked on his latest project. The device on his workbench was small enough to hold in one hand, but it contained technology that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. It was a personal shield generator that could protect a single person from weapons that could destroy starships. If the Council thinks humans are dangerous now, he muttered to himself, wait until they see what we have planned for next year. The transformation of humanity was complete. In 5 years, they had gone from a species begging for acceptance to the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. They had built hidden fleets, established secret alliances, and developed technology. That made Council science look primitive, but perhaps the most important change was in human thinking. The first sign that something was terribly wrong came on a quiet Tuesday morning when the Zelani trade convoy simply vanished. Captain Vex had been commanding trade ships for 30 years. He knew every route between the core worlds and the outer colonies. His convoy of 12 heavy cargo ships and 6 military escorts had been carrying medical supplies to the frontier settlements. The journey should have been routine. Trade Central, this is Convoy 7 Alpha, Vex had transmitted that morning. We are entering the Centauri corridor, all ships reporting normal status. Estimated arrival at Kepler Station in 6 hours. That was the last message anyone received from Convoy 7 Alpha. When the ships failed to arrive at Kepler Station, search parties were sent out immediately. They found nothing, no wreckage, no distress beacons, no signs of a fight. 12 massive cargo ships and 6 military vessels had simply disappeared without a trace. In the council chambers on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Kleck stood before his fellow representatives with his scales flickering between blue and pale white, the colors of fear and confusion. The convoy vanished completely, Kleck reported, his voice shaking slightly. One moment they were transmitting routine status reports. The next moment, nothing. No distress signals, no debris field, no evidence they ever existed. Chairman Vorth's crystal body pulsed with annoyed orange lights. Pirates? Impossible. Kleck replied quickly. The military escort included 2 battleships and 4 heavy cruisers. What pirate force could eliminate that much firepower without leaving any evidence? War Chief Grack leaned forward in his chair, his reptilian features twisted with suspicion. Perhaps the humans have broken out of their containment. We should have destroyed them when we had the chance. Dr. Yenth's tentacles writhed nervously as he consulted his datapad. Our quantum barriers around human space show no breach attempts. The sensors report no human ships have left their designated systems. Then explain how an entire convoy disappears, demanded the Aquarian representative, her gills fluttering rapidly with stress. But before anyone could answer, more reports began flooding into the council chambers. A Marthery research station had stopped responding to communications. A Nexari mining operation reported being attacked by unknown vessels that appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. Most disturbing of all, these incidents were happening simultaneously across multiple sectors of the galaxy. This is impossible, muttered Dr. Yenth as he studied the incoming reports. The attacks are happening thousands of light years apart, but they are perfectly coordinated. No single race has the technology for such widespread operations. As the reports continued to pour in, a pattern began to emerge that chilled every council member to their core. The attackers knew exactly where to strike. They hit supply convoys at the most vulnerable points in their routes. They targeted military bases when the defenses were at their weakest. They seemed to know every detail of council operations. We have a spy among us, growled War Chief Grack, slamming his armored fist on the table. Someone is feeding information to our enemies. We have investigated that possibility, replied Dr. Yenth, his voice trembling. Every council race has been subjected to the most thorough security reviews in our history. We found no evidence of betrayal. The Draknari war chief stood up, his massive form towering over the other representatives. Then how do you explain that our most secret military installations are being attacked with surgical precision? How do unknown enemies know the exact locations of bases that do not appear on any public records? Chairman Vorth tried to maintain order, but his crystal body was now pulsing with the dark red of deep concern. Perhaps we are dealing with a new species. Some race from the unexplored regions that has been watching us without our knowledge. A species advanced enough to coordinate attacks across the entire galaxy? Asked the silicon-based collective. Representative. A species that can make our ships disappear without a trace? If such a race exists, why have we never detected them before? In the back of the chamber, Ambassador Kleck spoke the words that had been haunting all their thoughts. What if it is the humans? The chamber fell into absolute silence. Every representative turned to stare at the Zilani. Ambassador, as if he had spoken something unthinkable. Chairman Vorth's body flashed bright orange with dismissive annoyance. Impossible. The quantum barriers remain intact. Our sensors show no breach attempts, no escape vessels, nothing. The humans remain trapped in their home systems like animals in a cage. But what if they found another way? Kleck pressed, his scales now flickering between blue and silver. What if isolation did not weaken them? What if it made them stronger? Ridiculous, snapped War Chief Grack. They are one small species confined to a handful of systems. We are 12 races with thousands of worlds and millions of ships. Even if they somehow escaped containment, they could not threaten us. Dr. Yenth was frantically checking his data files. According to our intelligence reports, human technology was at least 200 years behind our most advanced systems when we isolated them. Even with rapid development, they could not have closed that gap in just 5 years. Then explain the disappearances, Kleck demanded. Explain how our enemies know our most classified information. Explain how they can coordinate attacks across impossible distances. Before anyone could respond, every display screen in the council chamber flickered and went dark. Security alarms began blaring as technicians rushed to their control panels, desperately trying to regain control of their systems. Then, slowly, the screens came back to life. But instead of showing council data, they displayed a single image that made every representative gasp in shock. The face of Admiral Kate Morrison appeared on every screen, and behind her was the bridge of a ship unlike anything in council databases. Greetings. Galactic Council, Morrison said, her voice calm and steady as if she were addressing a routine meeting. I believe we need to talk. The chamber erupted into chaos. Representatives shouted orders while security forces scrambled to trace the impossible. Transmission. Technical staff frantically tried to regain control of their compromised systems. But Morrison continued speaking as if nothing was happening. 7 years ago, you declared humanity too dangerous for galactic society. You isolated us, cut off our trade, and expected us to come crawling back within a decade. You made a fundamental error in judgment. War Chief Grack was roaring orders for immediate military mobilization, but his voice was drowned out by Morrison's steady tone. You assumed that isolation would weaken us. Instead, it freed us from your rules, your limitations, your bureaucratic inefficiencies. You taught us that we could not rely on anyone but ourselves. We learned that lesson very well. Chairman Vorth managed to regain enough composure to speak. This transmission is impossible. Our quantum barriers prevent any communication from human space. Morrison's expression did not change. Your barriers work both ways, Chairman. They keep our ships out, but they also keep your sensors from detecting what we have built outside your monitoring range. Did you really think we would stay locked in the Sol system while you controlled half the galaxy? Dr. Yenth's tentacles were writhing frantically as the implications hit him. The attacks, the missing convoys, You have been building forces outside our space, Not forces, Morrison corrected. Networks. Humans do not conquer for the sake of conquest. We adapt, we innovate, we survive. Every species you have marginalized, every colony you have ignored, every trade route you have neglected, we have been there, and we have been building relationships The display changed to show a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Vast sections that the Council had marked as unexplored, uninhabitable, or unimportant were now highlighted in blue, indicating human presence and influence. "You control the core systems," Morrison continued, "but we now monitor everything else. Your supply lines, your outer colonies, your trade routes, they all pass through space where we have allies, bases, and resources." Ambassador Kleck's scales had turned completely white with fear. "How many ships do you have?" Morrison smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "Enough, but this is not about military force. This is about the future of galactic civilization. You built a system based on maintaining the status quo. We have built something based on continuous improvement." "What do you want?" demanded War Chief Crack. "What we have always wanted," Morrison replied. "A voice in galactic affairs. The right to exist as equals, not as subjects. The opportunity to contribute to galactic civilization instead of being treated as unwanted intruders." Chairman Vorth's body was now pulsing between red anger and purple confusion. "You could have requested readmission through proper diplomatic channels." "Could we?" Morrison asked. "Would you have listened? Or would you have demanded that we accept whatever terms you chose to offer? Would you have treated us as equals or as defeated enemies begging for mercy?" The chamber fell silent because everyone knew the answer. The Council had fully intended to make humanity beg for readmission and accept whatever humiliating terms were offered. "You have 1 week to consider our proposal," Morrison announced. "We will meet at neutral coordinates to discuss the future of galactic government." The week that followed Admiral Morrison's message was the longest in Galactic Council history. Emergency sessions ran day and night as representatives argued about what to do. Some wanted to negotiate. Others demanded immediate military action. All of them were afraid. Chairman Vorth had not left the council chambers for 3 days. His crystal body flickered constantly between different colors as he tried to process the impossible situation. Around him, holographic displays showed the locations of missing ships, silent bases, and disrupted supply lines. The pattern was clear and terrifying. 63 military installations have gone dark, reported Dr. Yempth, his tentacles shaking as he read from his datapad. 47 trade convoys have vanished completely. 12 entire colonies have stopped responding to our communications. War. Chief Grack paced back and forth like a caged animal. How is this possible? We have the largest military force in galactic history. Our fleets patrol every major trade route. Our sensors monitor every star system. Apparently not every system, muttered Ambassador Kleck. His blue scales had turned pale gray with stress. The humans have been operating right under our sensors for years, and we never detected them. The Aquarian representative floated in her water-filled environment suit, her gills working rapidly. Perhaps we should accept their offer to negotiate. Fighting an enemy we cannot see or understand seems foolish. Negotiate? Grack roared. They are attacking our ships, destroying our bases, and making a mockery of Council authority. We do not negotiate with terrorists. They are not terrorists, said Dr. Yempth quietly. Terrorists attack randomly to spread fear. These attacks are surgical, precise, and targeted. Every strike serves a strategic purpose. This is military planning at a level we have never encountered. Chairman Vorth finally spoke, his voice heavy with exhaustion. What are our military options? General Fax, the Council's supreme military commander, activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked Council forces while unknown blue dots seemed to be everywhere else. The situation is worse than we thought, Fax admitted reluctantly. Our intelligence suggests human forces are operating in over 200 star systems. They have allies among species we ignored or dismissed. Their technology appears to be decades ahead of ours. How many ships do they have? Demanded Grack. Unknown. Our estimates range from 500 to 5,000 vessels. But numbers may not matter. Their ships appear and disappear at will. Our weapons cannot target what we cannot detect. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Council had spent centuries building their power on the assumption that they controlled galactic technology and military force. Now they faced an enemy that made their advantages meaningless. "Sir," interrupted a communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the neutral coordinates Admiral Morrison specified." "Put it through," Vorth ordered. The holographic display changed to show Admiral Morrison standing on what appeared to be the bridge of a massive starship. Behind her, dozens of crew members worked at stations that looked nothing like Council technology. But what shocked the Council most was that Morrison was not alone. Standing beside her were representatives from at least 20 different species. Some the Council recognized as minor races from the Outer Rim. Others were completely unknown. All of them looked confident and determined. "Chairman Vorth," Morrison began, "thank you for accepting our invitation to communicate. I would like you to meet some of our allies." A tall, thin being with silver skin stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Zelek of the Outer Rim Coalition. For 200 years, the Council ignored our requests for protection from raiders and pirates. The humans offered us security in exchange for cooperation. The choice was simple." Another alien, this one resembling a walking tree, spoke next. "I represent the Botanical Union. Council mining operations poisoned our worlds for decades. When we protested, you told us to be grateful for the economic opportunities. The humans helped us clean our worlds and develop sustainable technology." One by one, representatives of different species stepped forward to explain why they had chosen to work with humanity instead of the Council. Each story was the same. The Council had ignored them, exploited them, or dismissed their concerns. Humans had offered them respect, protection, and genuine partnership. Morrison gestured to the assembled aliens. "This is what you created when you decided some species were more important than others. Every race you marginalized, every colony you abandoned, every cry for help you ignored. They all remembered. When we offered them a better alternative, they chose to join us." War Chief Grack was trembling with rage. "You turned our subjects against us." "We offered friendship to beings you treated as servants," Morrison corrected. "There is a difference." "Doctor." Yenth leaned forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "Your technological advancement in 7 years. It defies every model of development we have ever created." Morrison smiled. "Isolation forced us to think differently. We could not rely on your established systems, so we built better ones. We could not use your technology, so we developed superior alternatives. We could not depend on your protection, so we became stronger than anyone who might threaten us." "Impossible," muttered General Thax. "No single species can advance that rapidly." "You are correct," Morrison agreed. "No single species can, but we were not working alone. Every alien race that joined us brought their own knowledge and perspectives. Combined with human innovation and determination, we achieved things none of us could have accomplished separately." President Campbell appeared beside Morrison on the display. "The Council made the classic mistake of assuming that your way was the only way. You built a civilization focused on maintaining the status quo. We built one based on constant improvement and mutual cooperation." Chairman Vorth's crystal body pulsed with desperate authority. "What are your demands?" "Our demands are simple," Campbell replied. "Dissolve the current council structure. Establish a new galactic government based on merit and mutual respect rather than traditional power hierarchies. Give every species an equal voice in galactic affairs." "Unacceptable," roared War Chief Grack. "The Council has maintained galactic peace for over 1,000 years. "Peace for whom?" asked Morrison. "Peace for the 12 founding races who controlled everything. What about the hundreds of species you exploited or ignored? What about the colonies that begged for help while you focused on maintaining your own comfort?" Ambassador Kleck found his voice. "And if we refuse your demands?" Morrison's expression became very serious. "Then you will learn why isolation made us so much more dangerous than you ever imagined. Are you threatening us?" demanded Chairman. "Vorth, I am explaining reality," Morrison replied calmly. "For 7 years, you have assumed that humans were trapped and helpless. During that time, we built fleets that make yours look obsolete. We developed technology that makes your science appear primitive. We forged alliances that give us influence in every corner of the galaxy. She paused, letting her words sink in. More importantly, we learned that we do not need your approval to exist. We do not need your permission to trade, explore, or defend ourselves. You isolated us to teach us humility. Instead, you taught us independence. Dr. Yenth was frantically calculating on his datapad. The coordination required for your operations? The resources needed? The technological base? How did you accomplish so much without our detection? Because you stopped looking, Morrison explained. Once you built your barriers around our home systems, you assumed the human problem was solved. You went back to your comfortable routines while we spent every day building something better. President Campbell stepped forward. You have 48 hours to decide. You can work with us to build a new galactic government that serves everyone. Or you can try to maintain your old system by force. But understand this, the age of council dominance is over whether you accept it or not. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. For several minutes no one spoke. Then War Chief Grack broke the quiet with a growled question that everyone was thinking. What are our chances if we fight them? General? Thax looked at his data displays for a long time before answering. Based on what we have seen, very poor. They appear to have technological superiority, numerical advantage, better intelligence, and the support of half the galaxy. Then we negotiate, said the Aquarian representative quietly. Never, Grack slammed his fist on the table. The Council does not surrender to upstart humans. Chairman Vorth's crystal body was now pulsing between many different colors. Fear, anger, confusion, and something that might have been resignation. Perhaps, he said slowly, it is time to consider whether maintaining our pride is worth destroying galactic civilization. As the council members argued among themselves, none of them noticed that their communication systems were recording every word and transmitting the data to human intelligence networks throughout the galaxy, the same networks that had been monitoring council activities for years. Were now watching the final collapse of the old order. The war that was coming would not be fought with massive fleets clashing in space. The war that followed lasted exactly 17 days. It was not the massive space battle that the Galactic Council had prepared for. Instead, it was a surgical demonstration of how completely the balance of power had shifted in the galaxy. Human forces did not attack Council core worlds or civilian targets. They did not need to. On the first day, every Council military base outside their home system simply went dark. Communication arrays stopped working. Weapon systems shut down. Supply ships never arrived. The bases were not destroyed. They were simply cut off and made helpless. On the second day, the Council's intelligence networks discovered that their most secret military codes had been compromised for years. Every battle plan, every troop movement, every strategic decision had been known to human forces before the orders were even given. By the third day, it became clear that the humans were not trying to conquer Council territory. They were demonstrating that they could shut down Council operations anywhere in the galaxy whenever they chose. It was a message that could not be misunderstood. War Chief Grack led the Council's only major counterattack on Day 7. His fleet of 300 heavy warships moved to retake the strategically important Nexus station. The fleet was the pride of Council military power, the newest ships, the best weapons, the most experienced crews. The battle lasted 43 minutes. Human ships appeared from nowhere, moving faster than Council sensors could track. Their weapons cut through Council shields like paper. Their armor absorbed Council plasma blasts without showing damage. When the shooting stopped, Grack's fleet was completely disabled but still intact. Not a single Council ship had been destroyed, but none of them could fight. "This is Admiral Morrison to War Chief Grack," came the transmission to the disabled flagship. "Your crews are unharmed. Your ships can be repaired, but your ability to threaten anyone in this galaxy is now over. Do you understand?" Grack, sitting in his darkened command center surrounded by dead instruments, finally understood what the Council was facing. "You could have destroyed us. Yes, Morrison replied simply. But destruction was never our goal. Change was our goal. Your choice now is whether that change happens with your cooperation or without it. On day 15, Chairman Vorth made the call that ended the council era. Standing in the ruins of his authority, surrounded by representatives who had lost faith. In the old system, he contacted President Campbell directly. "We surrender," Vorth said, his crystal body now a dull gray color. "What are your terms?" Campbell's response surprised everyone who heard it. "We do not want your surrender. We want your participation. The galaxy is big enough for all of us to thrive, but only if we work together instead of some species ruling over others." The formal ceremony took place 6 months later in the same chamber where the Council had voted to isolate humanity 7 years earlier. But everything about the room had changed. The old circular table with its rigid hierarchy had been replaced by a more open arrangement where representatives from over 200 species could participate as equals. The seats were no longer assigned by ancient tradition, but filled based on each species. Contributions to galactic welfare. President Campbell stood at the center of the new assembly, but she was not there as a conqueror addressing defeated enemies. She was there as the first elected leader of the Galactic Federation, a position she had won in a fair election where every species had an equal vote. "The isolation war is over," Campbell announced to the assembled representatives. "But this is not a human victory. This is a galactic transformation. We have replaced a system based on maintaining old power structures with one focused on solving new challenges." Admiral Morrison, now bearing the title of Supreme Fleet Commander, addressed the military concerns that many species still had. Human forces have withdrawn from all former Council territory except where local populations specifically requested our protection. We are not here to rule you. We are here to ensure that no single species or alliance can impose their will on others. Again, the changes were dramatic and immediate. The old council had required dozens of committees and years of debate to make simple decisions. The new Federation could coordinate responses to galactic crises within hours. When raiders attacked the outer rim colonies, Federation forces responded immediately with ships from 6 different species working together. When a plague threatened the Botanical Union worlds, human medical technology combined with alien biological knowledge to create treatments in weeks instead of years. Former Chairman Vorth, now serving as a cultural advisor to the Federation, spoke about the transformation. "Your technological advancement in just 7 years. We still do not understand how it was possible." Dr. Rivera, now the Federation Secretary of Science, explained patiently, "Isolation forced us to stop accepting that things had to work the way they always had. We could not use your established systems, so we built better ones. We could not rely on your solutions, so we developed superior alternatives." Commander Jake Sullivan, now captain of the Federation vessel Unity, added his perspective. "The Council made the mistake of thinking that their way was the only way. You built a civilization designed to prevent change. We built one designed to encourage it. The technological sharing programs were perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of the new system. Species that had jealously guarded their scientific secrets for centuries now worked together on projects that benefited everyone. Dr. Martinez, whose innovations had been crucial to human advancement during isolation, now led research teams that included scientists from dozens of different worlds. "The breakthrough discoveries we are making now dwarf anything that happened during the Council era," he reported to the Federation Assembly. "It turns out that cooperation produces better results than competition." The economic changes were equally dramatic. The old council system had been based on established trade routes controlled by the founding races. The new Federation opened trade to everyone based on merit and mutual benefit. "Every species now has access to galactic markets," reported Trade Minister Robert Chun. "Small colonies that were ignored by the Council are now thriving partners in Federation commerce. When everyone can contribute, everyone benefits." But perhaps the most important change was in how galactic conflicts were resolved. The old Council had maintained peace through the threat of force and the fear of exclusion. The Federation maintained peace through shared prosperity and mutual respect. Ambassador Kleck, who had delivered the original isolation order to humanity, now served as the Federation's Minister of Reconciliation. We spent 1,000 years preventing war by maintaining the status quo. The Federation prevents war by addressing the problems that cause conflicts in the first place. The transformation was not without challenges. Some species struggled to adapt to the faster pace of change. Others found it difficult to abandon traditional hierarchies in favor of merit-based systems. But the benefits of the new approach were impossible to ignore. Crime rates have dropped to the lowest levels in recorded history, reported Security Minister Lisa Park. When people have hope for a better future and opportunities to improve their lives, they do not turn to violence or desperation. General Williams, now head of the Federation's Joint Defense Forces, addressed the Assembly's concerns about military security. Every species maintains their own defense capabilities, but we coordinate against threats that affect multiple worlds. No one stands alone against dangers they cannot handle by themselves. Dr. Martinez presented the latest research findings to the Assembly. The collaborative programs we have established are producing advances at a rate that seemed impossible under the old system. Shared knowledge, combined perspectives, and cooperative development are accelerating progress beyond our most optimistic projections. War Chief Grack, surprisingly, had become one of the strongest supporters of the new system. Under the Council, the Drakneri were valued only for our fighting ability. In the Federation, our engineers work with human scientists to solve problems that neither could address alone. We are more than just warriors now. As the session continued, it became clear that the real revolution was not in the technology or military tactics that humans had developed during their isolation. It was in their approach to cooperation itself, where the old Council had focused on maintaining established power relationships. The Federation emphasized continuous adaptation and improvement. Where the Council had preserved traditional hierarchies, the Federation created opportunities based on contribution and merit. President Campbell closed the historic session with words that defined the new galactic age. 7 years ago, you isolated humanity because you believed we were too dangerous for your galaxy. You were right about one thing: we were dangerous. Dangerous to stagnation, dangerous to complacency, and dangerous to the idea that things must always stay the same. She looked around the chamber at representatives from species that had never had a voice in galactic affairs before the Federation was created. The galaxy you built lasted for centuries by avoiding change. The galaxy we are building together will thrive for millennia by embracing it. And that is why the price of leaving humanity in silence was higher than you ever imagined.